Well, hey guys, I hope you guys are having a great day so far. And like Ken said, my name is Daniel. I've been with the company about 14 years. I started here when I was 12, and not much older than 12, if I'm being literal. But these days, I spend about half my time working with Dave and our board, working on global company kinds of things, and then the other half of my time working with the leaders in our business and leadership. We call it a spoke, and that encompasses the EntreLeadership brand as well as our business boutique brand.
And how many years did you lead as vice president EntreLeadership?
So EntreLeadership became its own profit center in 2013, I believe. And so I led that from what was just kind of a live event experience into what it is today. And that was about a 5-year journey as a vice president.
All right, and this guy to the left of Daniel is a guy by the name of Dave Ramsey. He does a little bit of radio. You can clap for Dave. There you go. Yeah. So this is fun. Dave popped over here, and we have, Dave, an intentional leadership development, not strategy, but culture. We're constantly looking for leaders, and then when we identify somebody that we feel like has got it, then it's an intentional process of moving them through that. I thought it'd be fun for those watching on Facebook and then our leaders here in the room. Describe the current process by which that happens, and then if you get identified, what does it look like as you begin to walk through the training process and the testing?
You know, we don't have some kind of magic wand where we go, oh, there's a leader over there. Like one of those forks, tuning fork things where you find water or something, you know? No, it's more like they show themselves. They stick their head up. They're doing something. They're getting things done. They're relational. You know, Pat Lencioni's book, Hungry, Humble, Smart, the ideal team player, they're hungry, they're humble, meaning they're not humiliated, they're humble, meaning they're other-centered, and they're smart, they're people smart, relational smart, and they get stuff done. And, you know, Daniel from day one, he was a sales guy when he came on, 23 years old maybe, something like that. And, but from day one, I mean, this guy, he would just run out and knock stuff down. You know, that guy's got potential. He's going to knock something down. We might as well aim him at something, you know. So, you know, it's just that kind of stuff. And you're looking for people, men and women of action, men and women of valor who do things. You know, it's like, you know, those are the people that are easy to guide because they're already in motion. Getting somebody into motion, I ain't got time to do it. I got too much other. If you're not already in motion, I can't help you. I can light a fire under you. You know, it's like, I'm burnt out. Not a chance, dude. You were never on fire. You know, I mean, it's like.
You know, so Dave's talking about, you know, they raise their hand, they stick their head up, and that's absolutely true. The thing I would challenge you guys is once you identify that person, go crazy intentional on nurturing and mentoring and leading and investing in them. So there's really 3 ways that we do that. There's content, there's conversations, and there's constructs. And content is, what are you teaching them? What do they need to be trained on? What are you doing in your calendar to set aside time to sit down and have intentional conversations? Content is in the EntreLeadership book. Early on, the content from Dave to us was, I'm gonna teach you guys EntreLeadership. So there's content there. Conversations are, we have weekly one-on-ones with our leaders. We have 2-on-1s. We have cross-line board member to lead another leader in another area conversations. There's a lot of conversations that we prioritize going to lunch. You know, we expense it. Go to lunch, go get a drink, go sit down and have a conversation with somebody who's gonna give you some advice, help you process what you're going through, ask you some questions that may be uncomfortable. The third one's constructs, which is, what are the intentional things that you're looking at, whether it's an assessment, whether it's some kind of a scorecard, looking at metrics and KPIs. If you're not measuring the quality of a leader's development, you're likely to lose sight of the things that are important. So when we notice somebody has leadership potential, as Dave's saying, hungry, humble, smart, they don't just continue to develop themselves. They can if they're a leader, they're gonna do it some, but as they're leaders, it's our job to invest in them heavily. So we spend a lot of time and money investing in our leadership team. We have about 130 people in what we call Ramsey Solution Leadership. We set aside time every month, and we all come and sit in this room, and we unpack leadership principles, and we teach and we train and we dialogue about things going on in the company. We talk about uncomfortable issues, but we make that a priority. So it's not something that just organically occurs just because they show up organically, I think, but then we intentionally invest in developing those leaders.
Daniel, I want you to take us back to the early days. Dave just referenced it moments ago. You're 23 years old. You got a sales background. You come from an entrepreneurial background, but not this huge, successful, lineage. You just were a hustler, and you come in here, and there was an opportunity for you to go after it, but there was also some intentionality in those early days. What was it like as a 23-year-old to realize, wait a second, I've got some people here in the company that are seeing something in me, and they are doing those three things that you just laid out so beautifully? What did it feel like?
Well, I never felt like this clear path from 23 to where I am today. It was very foggy. Statistically, I shouldn't be successful. I shouldn't be where I am. I'm second generation off a cotton farm. I'm a college dropout. I rolled into here coming off a job delivering sandwiches down here at the Jason's Deli. And to this day, when somebody caters in Jason's Deli, like I run over and give that guy $50 because I'm like, dude, you can make it out. There's a way. So early on, I was just dumb enough to believe that intentionality thing. Dave was always talking about buy this book and read this book. It'll change your life. Leaders are readers. And I cannot underscore the significance of growing yourself as a young leader. And so I would go buy the book. But what I've learned is only half the people would buy the book. Only half of those people actually read the book. Only half of those people studied the book and what was in it. Half of those people applied it intentionally and started getting results. And only half of those people, which if you're doing the math is 3.125%, linked up that this is so important, I'm gonna do it every day of my life. And 15 years later, they're a success. And so I was just dumb enough to think like, well, if I buy the books and read them, I can make it. And early on, I was maniacal about reading and learning, and still to this day, like I still set goals. This isn't like, here's what your team needs to do. Goal setting is for, rank and file people. Like, no, every day I'm setting my goals. What am I doing today? What are my big rocks? What are my big wins for this week? What's my goal for this year? I think people that do that naturally, if you see them getting excited about that stuff, as geeky as it can be, keep your eye on them and pour yourself into them, because what they're showing is they want to grow, they want to develop, they need that guidance. I was really rough. But by God's grace and Dave and several of our leaders around here, they were able to kind of knock off those rough edges over
But I
time.
want you to share some of the guidance, whether it had been Jack or Bill or whoever. What was the guidance like? How did it help you in those early days when they saw this kid's got something special? And you are raw, but they really did shape you.
So Dave said, this guy is hungry. I was pinging out the scale on hungry. I wasn't so strong on humble. And in my experience, what it looked like was them kind of kicking me in the teeth a little bit and going, dude, chill. Tuck your shirt in. Quit being a jerk in the meeting to that person. Who do you think you are? I mean, it was just a lot of like, after the meeting, hey, you need to know you're awesome and you're going places, but let's knock this chip off your shoulder. And so Dave, Bill, several people, I just always remember those moments, very uncomfortable conversations. And for my personality style, I'm very high D. You probably would not do well to talk to a high S the way these guys talk to me. They need to be led and developed a little bit differently. But for me, I didn't need a lot of encouragement. I needed a lot of humbling and bringing me kind of down to earth and helping me understand, hey, this thing's gonna take time. And you've got some natural talent, but that doesn't give you a pass on treating those people like crap.
Dave, you teach in the money side of things so beautifully about the rope and what you and Sharon did with your 3 kids and allowing them rope, but there's great leadership stuff there as well. What would you say to the leaders in this room and those watching on Facebook, if you identify somebody who's stuck their head up and you think they've got what it takes, how do you begin to move them along and give them a little bit of rope so we can see, all right, how are they going to handle this? What do they need to work on?
Well, I probably started delegating as much out of frustration as anything, just because I couldn't get to it. It wasn't going to get done, so you might as well try it, And so it was kind of that. It really wasn't like a professional, well thought out leadership strategy. But later on, as we started working on it more and more, as we evolved as an organization and as leaders, we started realizing that you can delegate to someone to the extent you trust their competence and their integrity. And usually integrity takes a little time. Just spend time with people. You learn to trust the intent of their heart, that they mean well, that they intend to do something. And then their competence is, can they play? Can they put the ball in the hoop? Can they drive the lane? Can they get the thing done? And the only way you do that is just put them out there on the floor and go shoot. Shoot. You can't do it for them. Coach does all the shooting. The team doesn't win. Shoot. You got to shoot the ball. And oh, you missed. Oh darn. Well, shoot again. Let's adjust that, and change that. And you go into that meeting, you go into that sales presentation, you go into that negotiation with a vendor, you go into whatever. You just put them in there, put them in the fire, and just watch them. And then after the meeting, course correct and go, when you said that, did you notice that all the body language in the whole room shifted? That was pretty dadgum stupid. So maybe you shouldn't use that phrase in that situation like that. You just turned the whole room on its ear. The room tilted. I didn't see that. I know you didn't see it, but I saw it and everybody else saw it. And so you're gonna have to think about your mouth in that situation. And that's kind of how we talk around here. I mean, we just say it. This is what happened. You screwed that up, And people tell me that too, by the way, so it's okay. But so we just, we course correct, and you got to put them in the fire and let them feel it. And you can talk to a kid about how to drive a car all you want, but you got to put them behind the wheel eventually, and grit your teeth and hold your breath and stomp the floor over there where there should be a brake and all that, right? But you got to let them drive sometime, and you got to parking lot of the church or whatever it is. You got to put them behind the wheel.
All right, reminder, specific questions you have about identifying, developing leaders, you can just head on up to the mic and ask the question. Daniel, I have seen you do a great job over the last couple of years. This audience got to meet Sarah Sloyan on the stage earlier today. She gave some great advice, and she has really stepped into this role beautifully for you as you moved up. Reproducing yourself as a leader is massively important. Dave is very intentional. I'm going to ask Dave about that in a moment, but I want you to talk about how you and Sarah worked together to eventually pass that baton as you moved on, and now she's stepping up beautifully.
About 6 or 7 years ago, I was still in a sales seat, and I would go out to the Total Money Makeover live events that Dave would do. He'd teach for 5 hours on a Saturday, and at the end of the night, I had about 10 minutes to pitch EntreLeadership, answer questions, collect checks, and book it out of there, because Dave would let me fly home on the jet if I was out there within 10 minutes. So you talk about pressure, like I'm selling, trying to collect money, and trying to balance hurrying up and maybe losing sales so I could get home that night to see my family. Otherwise, I had to catch a flight commercially out the next day. And I was always kind of doing that dance, and I would take a little longer, and Dave would kind of go, well, you're a little late, but how'd you do? And so if I did really well, he'd go, okay, I guess it was worth another 5 minutes. And this was our little running joke. Well, one night, I handed the sales cards, to this girl on our team, and I said, hey, these are the sales from tonight. I need you to get these into the system and get these back under lock and key, make sure that these don't get lost. These are live checks, these are checks. And it was probably $3,000 per at the time, and I don't know, there's maybe 20 or 30 in there. So tens of thousands of dollars of orders that I'm running off the stage, handing these to her, and just trusting it's all gonna be fine. And I get back Monday morning, and I go talk to the girl, and I go, hey, the cards, where's it, what was the total, and is everybody taken care of? And she said, oh, I gave them to somebody. I said, you gave them to somebody? She said, yeah, the event, they were packing up the truck, and someone said if I put them in a bin, that bin would get on the truck, and it would get back to Nashville, and so they're probably in the truck. And I'm going, you what? Where's the truck? And so the truck's at the loading dock. This is a Monday, and I spend 7 hours climbing around in this stupid truck looking for these orders, just sweating it, going, I don't know where they are. I mean, who knows? I mean, it's pallets and crates and AV equipment. I'm climbing all the way back. It's like literally a needle in a haystack. And the whole time I was in that truck, I thought, this is what he was talking about. My granddad always said, no one's gonna care as much as you do. This is it. No one's ever gonna care as much as I do. And I believed that for 4 or 5 years. And fast forward, someone came along that really challenged that belief for me. And that person was Sarah. And everyone on our team cares. And they care about the excellence in the event. They care about the product. But I'm talking about when you find someone who their life purpose so resonates with your life purpose, their values, their passion, their I'm not going to be denied index, that's very rare. And when you find that person, I would just say you pour your entire self into them. Dave has done that. He's found probably, I would say, 10 or 15 people like that along the way that he has just gone all in on those relationships. And that's not to discount the other people on the team that aren't there, but it's to say when you can find someone who you go, I think they care as much, they may care more than I do. This is amazing, and they love it, and they're wired for it. And so Sarah's one of those people. I got 2 or 3 people like that on our team where I'm just going, they get it, they want it, they make me run fast because sometimes I'm trying to keep up with them. That's when you know you got a good thing.
I never heard that story. Did you find those orders?
I found the freaking orders. That was the worst day and best day of my life. It was worst day until I found them, and then it was like Christmas.